So my first reaction to getting approached to play Moon Knight in the MCU was to look up who the heck Moon Knight was, because I'd never heard of him before. And when I discovered, you know, that the comics that have been going back since 1975, his first appearance, I just found a very unusual, interesting character that is quite mutable. You know, he changes so much from artist to artist, from writer to writer, who focuses whatever they decide is the most interesting aspect to focus on. So it felt like there was an opportunity for a lot of freedom in creating who Moon Knight was going to be for us.
When I found out that I got cast in this project, I had just done my chemistry read a few days earlier with Oscar and was waiting patiently, and my manager was like, "Have you heard anything?" And I was like, "No." And then she's like, "Well, I have." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "You got it." And we both cried. It was a lot of fun.
You know, when I was first approached about this, the immediate thing that attracted me to playing the part was Oscar. To be honest, you know, I'm an actor first, and I like other actors, and feeling his passion and his enthusiasm for what he wanted to do with this, and I knew what a big dare it was. I mean, you know, it's like jumping off a high dive to play a new superhero in one of these giant shows, and to play such a complicated character. I liked the way that he was thinking and talking about it, and that made me want to do it. It's like joining a band.
I grew up in Egypt, and I got a glimpse of Marvel comic books. It was like a very hot commodity. It's very easy. Yeah, like you have to trade your soul to get one of them. But we only got the superhero, the big guys. So we got Batman, we got Superman. I know I'm talking about DC, and then we got Spider-Man, and we got Iron Man. Like those few. But I never heard of Moon Knight, if that's one of the questions you're gonna ask. And but I've been a Marvel fan, and I've been dreaming about a day like this. This is big to someone who just like grew up in a small city in Egypt, to be a part of probably the biggest story that ever was told in the world of cinema ever. So to be a part of that and bring something of your own is an honor, and I'm really happy about it.
I think what was most exciting about taking on Stephen Grant and Marc Spector, Moon Knight, and Mr. Knight was that there was an ability to use this, you know, superhero genre and Egyptian iconography, superpowers, all this kind of stuff that's exciting and super entertaining, and use those things to tell a very internal story. This very, you know, deeply psychological, emotional story of this person uncovering the trauma that they lived through and finding a way to heal.
The reason I wanted to play Layla, well, I didn't actually get a lot of information about her prior to like booking, or even after booking it. It took some time before the information started to trickle in, but was that mainly that she is Egyptian. And as an Egyptian person who also loves Marvel, that was like an obvious yes.
Well, that's the big trick about playing a villain, is you really, I don't think you can play a villain. You have to see them as I played a saint, Saint Arthur Harrow, you know? He was here to heal the world. Come with me, brothers and sisters. We can do it together. So if you think of him as a villain, then you start mustache twirling and being diabolical or crazy, or and that's less interesting to me.
One of the most important things that drew me to the project was that it takes place in current Egypt, and it talks about Egyptology. And I've been very keen onto how to depict that and how to share that with the world. It was very important. Every Egyptian sees himself portrayed in the world of cinema, always sees himself, we call it the Orientalist way of seeing us, which means seeing us as exotic, and women are submissive, men are bad, and all the tropes that you would think of. So it was very important for me to have something completely different. I would tell you that my mom is the strongest person in my household. That's why Layla, the character, is a strong woman. all my movies, the women are actually stronger than men. My wife is the one who's running the family. So all those tropes, it was very important to break them. It was very important to show Cairo as Cairo, because a lot of times it's not even shot in Cairo. And a lot of times you see it when it's shot in Cairo, it's shot in a way that shows us as just like a desert city, like the pyramids and the desert, and shows us very primitive, even though if you just like panned a little bit, Egypt is in the middle. The pyramids are in the middle of 20 million people. Cairo, one of the biggest cities in the world, so urban, a place that has skyscrapers, everything that you would imagine in an urban, huge city that doesn't sleep. All that was very important for me, and all that was in the pitch. And I would say that Moon Knight is a first step. And hopefully, if there's another iteration, or if I'm involved in anything Moon Knight more, I would actually push it even to do that more. Marvel was very supportive from the get-go. Layla herself wasn't completely Egyptian at the beginning, and they allowed us to make her Egyptian. They got us the expert, they got us Egyptologist. Anything Egyptian, I was like Egypt police. Anything Egyptian, I told them, they would push for it. We didn't shoot in Egypt, but they put a lot of effort and money into turning any place we shot into Egypt, and no one would see the show and think this is not Egypt today.
So I did go back to the comics and research how he's been depicted. In fact, I got a bunch of different artwork from all the different comic runs and had them pasted all around my trailer, just so every time I was sitting in there, I was always surrounded by those visuals that are just so beautiful and frightening. And so there was a lot of, really what I took from that is in a way, it was more the spirit of it as opposed to any plot points. And then for us, it was just about telling a real story that's about a journey through DID.
The thing that I noticed immediately that is different about working for Marvel, I mean, it's common in independent film, but very uncommon when there's a lot of money at play, which is that they love actors. There's a tremendous support for what actors do. They've had real success with actors in the past, and I think they've had it by giving them freedom. I was really impressed and surprised at what a long leash we had. We had to work inside this world that they've built, but inside that world, it was going to be as good as you could imagine.
The moment I read the script of the show, me and Sarah Gohar, who's my wife, my producer, my partner in everything, we decided this is for us. This is the project that we should pursue. And we put together this 200-page pitch that showed our passion about the project. And in a way, we felt like, I know how to direct. We knew how to direct this all through. So we talked about location, tone, action, music, songs, visual themes, everything that you can imagine a director would do. And the moment we finished it, I told Sarah, if we didn't get that job, something's wrong with the world. And ironically, we got the job, and it wasn't a surprise for me, even though I was dancing on the beach when I got the job, me and her and the kids. But that pitch is the show. 2 years later, that pitch became the show, and sometimes I just go back to it, and I'm just so happy that Marvel allowed me to bring everything. Every crazy idea I had to the show is there now.
Like a lot of cult leaders, megalomaniacs, whatever, I think his motivation is at first entirely altruistic and idealistic. I think he genuinely believes that the world will be better because of his actions. And he justifies any ends for any means to his end. And that's where madness lies.
The parts of Layla that I admire are how resilient she is, and how if she knows she needs to do something, she just goes after it. There isn't all this thinking and uncertainty, and that's something that I hope to take more from her. And then the places that we are quite similar, we're both vulnerable and passionate people who who fight for the people, I want to say.
In my mind, I really wanted the costume to remind you of a monk. You know, I saw him as a true spiritual practitioner. He is dedicated to this crocodile goddess. He is serious in his commitment to her, the way that, you know, you might imagine the follower of any major of religions, you know, a monk at the highest order, full of all the strange secrets that those spiritualists have and secret communions with the divine, at least that he believes he has. And I think that's what I just wanted from the hair and the whole costumes, just to some kind of otherworldly monk.
I think the most challenging part of that was the technical part of acting with myself, because you know, something that an actor looks forward to generally is being able to be surprised in the moment and not knowing what the other actor is going to do. But not only did I know what the other actor was going to do, I had to plan very, very clearly what I was going to do and figure that out and map out, you know, figure out which character I wanted to play first and the blocking. And I had my brother there to read off of, and he's a really good actor. And so that was helpful. But it was the math around how to film those scenes was technically daunting.
It was extremely, working with Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke was extremely intimidating at first. They've had so much experience, and I really wanted to do the role justice. So I was scared at first, but then they were really good at empowering me and not only pushing me to take space, but I was able to watch them and see how they did it. And so they ended up being these teachers for me on this project.
Well, the thing with the production value, particularly the production design that Stefania, I mean, those sets were just astounding. And the same thing with the craftsmanship of the wardrobe and all of the creatures. I mean, every aspect of it was just so astounding. And for me, what it was inspiration. It was inspiring for me to see people putting all of their skill and passion into creating something that had meaning. And so for me, it just inspired me to want to do my best and bring my best.
The detailed sets were like a luxury as an actor, and informed my acting because I was able to just work off all these elements that I wouldn't have been able to imagine had they not been there. So that's a gift. And also it's like a testament to to our set designer, Stefania, and how much love she puts into her work. And it, you know, gives us that permission to want to put just as much work.
Listen, here's the truth is that when you have to walk inside the tomb of Alexander the Great, and it looks like the tomb of Alexander the Great. I mean, people should pay money to go to these sets. These sets are better than any museum I've ever been to. They went through such lengths to copy real tombs and to have the walls hand painted and have the color blue be exactly right. These people it was unbelievable to watch them work. And I always felt like if you can't act on that set, then you can't act.
As someone who's obsessed on showing Egypt the way it is, and I'm always coming from a place, I usually don't build sets. I always like to shoot on real locations. Working on this project was very challenging for me. Picking Stefania Sella, the production designer, was a bless. Having someone as energetic and a genius like her, I challenge her every day. I know how to every day tell her, like when I tell her, like always show her my fear of Egypt not being Egypt. Like I annoyed her, but she did a great job. When you see the Egyptian statues and the museum, Egypt, building Egypt in Hungary. She did such an amazing job. I'm so proud of everything that she has done, and I wish that I can work with her again because she's an absolute genius. I would say the same thing about Megan, costume designer, because there was a lot of challenges. Lots of times when you see in Arab worlds, I know it all feels the same to someone from the West, but it's not. Even putting the veil, if you put it differently, you're from Syria. Putting differently, you're from Morocco. Put it differently, you're from Egypt. And each one of them is completely different culture. So Megan, Stefania, all my team. I don't want to forget anyone. Greg, the cinematographer, anyone who's saying that the show looks different. It's because of those great people.
Yes. So my experience with Mohamed Diab and Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, it was just a real collaborative team. Something we would do is every Sunday while we were even shooting, we would all have brunch together with the actors, with the writers, our wonderful producer, Grant Curtis, and we would talk through the episodes, we would talk through the scenes, we'd brainstorm, we'd all just get on the same page creatively of what is this story that we're telling. It was really the collective imagination. And so it just felt like such a strong team.
Working with the directors was so fun. I've never worked, well, I know, I've worked on a project with like different directors, but this felt different. This was like, we had all sat together to go over each episode. Like each episode got 6 hours and we would sit together at a round table and just go through the whole structure just to make sure we were all on the same page. And it felt like we were kind of one mind moving through it. And what I loved about Mohamed Diab is he has this kind of like flowy way of doing things, and these ideas come to him and in the spur of the moment, and he like throw them on you, and it's scary, but then it's fun. And then Aaron and Justin are a bit more technical, and I'll always remember there are a few moments they'd come to me and be like, can you like experience what you're experiencing more on like this word or this line? And I'm like, okay, I'll try anything. And then it would actually change the whole chemistry of the scene. And it really freed me up as an actor to know I can fully trust them, all of them.
Well, every project is only as good as its collaborators. And we were all really simply on Team Moon Knight. That was kind of wonderful about it. There was a certain round table aspect to this, meaning everybody's voice was heard, and it was a best idea wins kind of thing. Oscar was really passionate. We had some really brilliant people from Marvel writing this. We had these wonderful directors, but we knew we were sailing uncharted water and we needed each other's help. And so we tried to make it as good as we possibly could.
I was lucky that the three main actors in the show, Oscar Isaac, Ethan Hawke, and Calamawy, are the people that usually wouldn't be associated with a project like this. In a way, just like me. So in a way, we were making our own independent movie. And the three of them are not here. Oscar just came from huge films, Star Wars, Dune, and X-Men. And Ethan, 35 years in the business, this is his first superhero film. He wanted to do something special. He wanted to prove that he's not here, not just because it's time. And definitely my presenting Egypt or the Egyptian character was something very important for her. So each one of them brought something to the table. They weren't just actors or someone who wanted figurines for them or being part of the Marvel universe. No. They were intellectual people. The story developed because of them. We had table reads. Each one of them was his character's best lawyer. And they were every day on the shoot, each one of them throws ideas and questions everything. And I think that's part of why we had it's the least amount of additional photography in the history of Marvel, which is 4 days. I think because we tried our best and it worked to develop the show even before the end. Usually Marvel never lets the show, I don't think they try. They always tried their best to make every show the best. So whatever the show needs, even if it's 100 days of additional photography, they're gonna give it to them. So I'm proud that we only had 4, and I think because Marvel allowed us to develop as much as it's needed, and with those beautiful intellectual people, with the great writers, and with Sarah, my wife, who's a producer on the show, on board, that table really elevated the show.
I think viewers should expect to go on an incredibly wild ride. It is an adventure story. It's a psychological thriller. There's elements of real horror, and at the core of it is this real deeply felt emotional journey of what it is to survive abuse and trauma and to heal from it.
When I was watching Moon Knight, I want to say unpredictable show. I find every episode offers something different, keeps you on your toes. it's a spectacle, but also if you want to meet it at the level of like the mental illness and the condition that it's discussing and bringing to light, that's also a really deep way. I would say watch it a couple times, like enjoy it, enjoy the superhero, supernatural aspect of it, and then really go in and watch it from that perspective of mental health, because I feel like we all put so much of our hearts into it, into representing it in a way, or kind of giving it a stage in a way that's keeping in mind it's fiction, but like a sensitive way that can give you a little glimpse and hopefully invite more people to address mental health and how we can support people experiencing any struggle.
What I love about Moon Knight is that it's very hard for you to capture the tone. The tone is actually a mix of a lot of things. The show has comedy, the show has drama, very serious drama. The show has action and horror. And one of the hardest challenges for me as a director is how to blend them all together and still feel coherent, and it doesn't feel like bits and pieces of genres. And I think, I hope we succeeded doing that. But if you ask me what's like the pitch, I would say like this is Indiana Jones meets Fight Club.
The thing that's special about Moon Knight to me, anyway, is that you've got a story of a broken person, and that this superhero's journey is actually about him learning to accept all the different aspects of himself. And once he does that, he becomes really powerful. And, if you're at war with yourself, you're broken and you can't do anything. But if you can harness and love all the different aspects of yourself, as the Moon Knight does, then look out.